Sweet, it's finally time for Wild Hearts! Oh, sorry, but the Kemono are not here right now. What? And the weapons aren't usable yet. What? In fact, it's probably best if you just come back later. What? Ladies, gentlemen, and hunters of all ages, Wild Hearts has been out for more than a week now, and it's about time that we spent a proper amount of time talking about the elephant in the room here, or I suppose the elephant in the coding. Wild Hearts' performance upon release is honestly just purely unacceptable. There are a number of people able to play the game entirely normally with no issues whatsoever, but it feels like an understatement to say that the majority of people who are either playing or are interested in playing Wild Hearts simply cannot have a consistently functional experience. For PC, for many people, the game simply won't run even with a decently mid to high-end setup, and even for those who can run it, no matter how good your PC is, the experiences that people have seem to be all across the board, regardless of how good it is. Some people have massive frame rate issues, some people have crashes, some people have reported having their save files full-on deleted, and others have just had their saves revert from an hour or two of play on occasion. Things aren't massively better on consoles either, where for the most part people are struggling to run the game on a constant frame rate on most systems. But the thing is, the game is really fun. Take it from someone who has well over 100 hours of gameplay at this point. I have been obsessed with this game since I've had access to it, and compared to what my expectations were before getting my hands on it, it has totally blown me away. Sure, it's a bit rough around the edges at points, but on the whole the game is simply quite fun. Sure, fun, and what more can you ask for than that, especially as one of a very small number of properly made games within this generally niche genre. That said, a patch was released earlier this week as a first attempt to fix the game, and so let's have a check-in. Has it fixed things? Has it not? And how do we feel about it as a whole? Well, first up, it hasn't fixed everything. Not by any means. It has changed some things for some people, but the game is definitely still full of performance issues for pretty much everyone that was having performance issues before. Specifically, what this patch was meant to do as far as official communication from the devs themselves is fix issues with high-end processors for PC users. This patch wasn't really meant to do anything for consoles, and well, it didn't. It wasn't meant to do anything for low to mid-end PCs that can't even run the game, and for some people they're saying it actually runs worse after the patch. It simply is for higher-end PCs that were struggling to get anywhere close to a stable frame rate, even though their hardware should absolutely be able to do so. So to put it simply, this was a very preliminary fix that exists to fix the easiest issues the game has for them to take care of, and honestly, that's fair enough. It's likely the optimization issues of this game are pretty deep-rooted in the code, and will take quite a bit of effort to actually iron out entirely, but they gotta patch out quickly for the thing that they could fix quickly, which is nice in its own way. Unfortunately though, that means for the vast majority of people who want to play this game that are unable to do so due to performance problems, not much has changed, if anything. Obviously, give the free trial, the demo, a check. If you can run that without problems, you should be able to run the full game without problems too, but otherwise I wouldn't expect the full game to run smoother than the demo does until there are more patches done to said full game. Again, this is a shame. I really feel bad for the legions of people who want to play Wild Hearts that simply cannot get sucked into this lovely experience because of these issues, because honestly, I think this game would be a relative smash hit compared to expectations if it weren't for this one absolutely glaring fault. The game is incredibly fun, but so many people who are interested in it don't even get to try it out, and that is really sad. I guess at the end of the day, all we can do is wait. It sucks that this is the only fix that has been done so far, but if anything else, it shows that they are working on fixing it as quickly as they can, and hopefully the next patch is no longer than a few days away and actually does a lot more to fix things. If the game is running smoothly for more players next week, I'll consider it a victory. It is a crying shame the game released in the state that it has, the way that it currently is, and I hate that some people have full-on bought the game only to realize they can't even remotely run it after launching it, but all we can hope for at this point is that it gets fixed quickly, smoothly, and effectively.
Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it! Fix it, fix it, fix it!
Obviously, the state that it's currently in has hurt the game quite a bit as well. Everyone knows it has performance issues, and the result is there are far less people playing the game than there are people who want to be playing the game. Of course, there are some who are turned away by its high price tag, who are waiting for a sale of some sort, but even that is a relatively low number of people in comparison to those who are willing to pay full price, but simply don't want to chance paying for something they might not even be able to actually play once it's been bought. Whether they be PC users or console, neither one is free from issues at the moment, and so of course it is in the best interest of the developers as well to get this sorted as soon as possible because, well, they want people to buy the game. They want people to be playing the game. They want people to know how the game is. And as someone who has over 100 hours in this game on a pretty beefy gaming setup that I have because this is literally what I do for a living, I still had issues myself. For the most part, they were worked out in a pre-release patch. I can play the game at full quality without having frame dips, but there was one specific quest within which the game was genuinely unplayably bad for me without turning all of my settings to the absolute minimum, and even then it still wasn't running anywhere close to a stable frame rate. This is an issue. I mean, the performance as a whole is an issue, but it definitely says something if people who dropped a bunch of money on high-end PCs are still having issues with performance, and I am far from the only one to experience this either. It's a shame, because the game is extremely fun. I have well over 100 hours in the game for a good reason, despite the performance issues that I suffered from early on. It was fun enough to me that it was worth pushing through that until it was fixed, and since that fix that solved my issues, I've become completely absorbed in it. I spend a majority of my free time playing this game, even as someone who also plays it as part of their job, which should say something about how fun it actually is. It's one of my favorite games that has released in a while, and even the endgame is quite enjoyable and a notable challenge to complete too. There is a ton of depth in this game, and each weapon feels almost completely fresh compared to the others, almost like the fight against each Kemono is a totally different experience depending on which weapon you're holding, of which there are 8. There isn't a whole lot of overlap between these 8 weapons, and so each of them feels very special in the way that they work, and they clearly have their own defined role and playstyle, and there are even alternative playstyles for pretty much every one of them if you want to shake things up even further. That said, none of this matters if you cannot physically play the game, but that is why I'm so sad about this. Even as someone able to play and run the game properly myself, I see you all out there. I see the people saying that they want to play, the people who have already bought the game and simply can't play it, or can play it but not in a way that won't make them sick due to frame rate issues. That's the big issue here, is that it's just really disappointing that this is why people aren't playing this game. If the game wasn't fun, if it was just sort of meh, and then it also had performance issues, it would still be a bit sad, but it wouldn't be a big loss, I guess. The issue to me is that the game is genuinely good. It is so enjoyable, and I think a lot of people who are missing out would be having a great time if they could play it, and yet this large block of the potential player base has just been locked out of the game. This game has gotten a lot of praise from us here at the channel, and I absolutely believe that it deserves it for what we praise it. The combat is fantastic, the Kemono are great, the locations are interesting, and a lot of the more unique mechanics of the game are deeply inspired, but all of that means nothing to the people who can't play the game because of the state of its performance issues. All we can really do is hope it gets sorted as soon as possible, and we know that developers are working on it, so hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But it is such a genuine shame that the game is in the state it's in right now. I know a lot of people who are hesitant about it with pre-release footage would be having a great time right now with it actually in their hands. I know a lot of people who are on the fence would be enjoying the hell out of this experience, but instead, just such a vast portion of people who are interested in the game simply don't have the option of playing it, at least not in the way that it was intended to be played. Maybe this has become a little bit of a rant, I don't know, I'm sorry. There's not much I can constructively say about it. I don't know what needs to be done to fix the game, I can't help code the fixes. All I can do is say, hey, I'm really sorry to those of you who have been walled from this lovely experience and are unable to enjoy it. I feel for you, truly, I do, but also just try not to lose out hope yet. These issues will be fixed, and when they are, this game is so much more worthy of your time than any of us expected before actually getting our hands on it. The performance issues at release will be a stain on this game that will last forever, but if they are fixed swiftly enough, hopefully it will be at least mostly forgiven when you consider how lovely the actual game inside actually is. And that's all there is to say, really. The game is great, the performance is far from great. Hopefully it is fixed as soon as physically possible and we can get the game into the hands of all those people who would want to play it, who would be really enjoying it right now. How are you holding up? Are any of you still playing even through poor performance, or have you just decided to wait for it to be properly patched? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.